everybody! We're here again. I am the Mama Mia.
And her mini me.
Yes. We were just at the farm a week ago, and there was someone that was like, "You too, you look the same." And we're like, "Yeah," and you see the nose ring, right? The nose ring here. We're like, even more similar than before. Welcome to our kitchen. You can see we have the knives just ready to like take and start chopping up some vegetables and onions to make something delicious, to make some good dinner.
Scary.
And then you can kind of see like right here and here we have like our pots and pans like hanging from the ceiling. So once again, we don't have to like dig in. Which one do I want? They're like right here. We just grab it, start sauteing something, start frying something up. I don't know. It's funny though. And we have a really nice counter space behind Righteous. Lots of space for everybody to team up and like we're gonna cook a meal together. Yeah. So I have a problem. I have like eczema on my hands. Like they're okay right now, but sometimes they really are acted up and like carrots, the acidity from carrots hurts my hand, tomatoes, onion, like so many things. So I have to be like,
lemons.
Yeah. Righteous, can you chop this for me? Like I'll do the actual stirring and like finishing the meal, but I need help. So a lot of help happens in this kitchen. You can see all our spices. Jason really is such a good chef and he always seasons things so delicious. Last night we had a team meeting and he made some delicious beef stew. So yeah.
You see our dinner behind us? Hamburgers.
Yes, can't wait to eat dinner later today. We've never tried this brand before, so we're hoping it's going to be a good one. We just love some food. We are a little bit of food snobs, if you want to know for sure. So come on over and we can have a meal together. We'll cook for you. And I love to bake specifically. I can bake you a dessert, okay?
True.
So welcome. You're invited to our house. So here's our kitchen. All right. Let's dive in. What is this chapter? You have the title of the chapter.
The chapter is Does God Still Love You?
Yeah, it was a good one. It's a lot about your past and how does your past define you? Yeah. What do people remember you for? And a lot of it is before Jesus. Like what are you known for? How did your family know you? Like, growing up, really your family sees the all of you, the good and the bad and the ugly. You can go out of your house and people just know you like, oh, you're so helpful at work, but like what are you known for the people that know you the most?
Both of us have come from Christian families, so we never really had that part of being like,
yes.
I definitely think that you especially were probably known, like Sadie talks about someone being like, are you that duck girl?
Yes.
So then I started to think about like, what is things for us? I feel like Mom was probably known, are you that Bible girl that started a Bible club in high school? Like that's weird.
A goody. They saw me as like I could do no wrong. I'll always obey the rules. Yeah.
For us, we've always been asked like, are you the Wick girls? And like all that type of stuff. Yeah. So we all have things that people put us in a box as.
Yes.
And it doesn't always feel good because it feels like you're trapped in that box. So we're like, I'm so much more than, the Bible girl. Yeah. And then I think also something else where like call them Zungus, like they think that means the white people. So it's like people put you in that box of like, you're only this.
Right.
So one thing quote she says is, shame about who they used to be often keeps people from becoming who they're meant to be. Yeah. So it made me think a lot of being like, I feel like I haven't had anything in my past where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so ashamed. Yeah. Because I did this wrong thing or that, because I've grown up in it and all that. However, I do feel like I feel the pressure of my future needs to be missions in a way, because that's all I've known. So like I feel that pressure from other people, even though people aren't telling me that. They just ask me, what are you going to do in your life? And I somewhat feel pressure. I'm like, I know, I probably should be a missionary, because that's been my childhood. But I don't need to let what others are telling me affect me. I just need to follow what God's plan is for my life. I do feel like it would be really hard if you have things in your past that you regret and you wish you couldn't do, like that would be really challenging.
For sure. So like my past, although it was in America and your childhood is in Kenya, is so similar to you. I don't have things that I regret because I really was in a Christian family. So that's why we still have something that we share in common, even though totally different countries and continents. Yeah. So I feel like it's such a blessing.
Yeah.
Like I'm like so grateful for that. What a gift to be able to say that and like really mean it. But when I was reading this chapter and thinking about my childhood and what I'm known for, my sister and my 3 brothers all continue to call me a nickname today, and I'm 41, as I was called when I was a teenager, so many years ago. It was Moose, because I loved wearing my hair kind of like this, but higher up, and it went down. I guess it looked like antlers, and people just started calling me Moose. I didn't even wear the same hairstyle every day. It was like once in a while, but it stuck. And so my siblings still refer to me if they send me a message or when they talk to me. And then some of their kids also call me Moose instead of like Aunt Becca. And it's just something I've not been able to escape. I don't mind it, but it's just so funny that has stuck throughout all these years.
True. One of our questions is, are you walking in the newness of life, or are you stuck in the past? So for me, when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking about the word forgiveness. And I was like, when I was reading, I was like, I'm not stuck in the past. Like, what is that nonsense? But I really struggle with forgiveness. And I realized with that can easily keep me in the past of not being able to be in the moment, or be like, okay, I'm going to choose today. I'm going to have joy. I'm not going to have, but sometimes one word could make my emotions go crazy and make me sad and angry. That's something I've been working on in the past couple months, years. So I feel like forgiveness was something that I was like, wow, that is something that I feel like can keep you in the past of not being able to move forward and not being able to grow.
Sure. In my past, I look back and I see I was such a people pleaser. And like people, I've talked about before on this podcast how everybody like knew me as such a nice person. Like, you're so nice. And like, I really took that on. I was like, even if maybe like I saw something, I disagreed with it, and I would want to maybe argue. Like,
now I have to be nice.
But I'm known as nice, and if I start to argue, then I will ruin my identity. Yeah, my reputation. So that was so important to me that I wouldn't ever like say anything. I just kept it to myself. And like, as I've grown and I developed my relationship with Jesus, I want to be a God pleaser. I don't want to be a people pleaser, which means because of God, and he has what's best for us, and he has these commands for us to follow, I've had to like, hey, I'm going to stick up for what is right, and I have to challenge and say something and enter into conflict. And that means I will let people down, and like they are going to be disappointed, or they might not like me, and they won't see I'm nice because I'm like firm. I'm like, no, right or wrong, no. So I've been okay with that, but it's a huge change from who I used to be and who I am today.
Another one of her questions is, in what ways does your life now still look like the life you were wanting to leave behind? So another word I had was hurt. I was realizing that when you're hurt, that can also keep you in the past. And as much as you want to leave that behind, that's something sometimes we carry unintentionally. And it is something that we physically, like the Pilgrim's Progress, I'm reminded, it gives a picture of carrying a bag, and it's so heavy for you, and it's such a big burden. And there's a scene where he takes it off at the foot of the cross, and then he continues walking, and it was so much easier.
That was the oven, made it cappuccino muffins, sorry. So much easier.
So I was realizing, for me, I'm always like, okay, Lord, help me with this. I take off the backpack, put it at the cross, and then I take like one step, and I turn around, and I pick up the backpack, put it back on, and then continue walking. And I don't mean to do that. I'm like, I already laid it down at your feet. Like, what's going on? But it's something that hurt is so hard to get rid of. Hurt is something so hard that one little thing can remind you of all the other things you're hurt about. It's something that we have to continually lay at God's feet and saying, Lord, help me to love this person today. Help me to lay this down so that I can go through this day with no burden. Wow, that's true. If we want to grow, we have to lay it down at his feet.
Sure. It reminds me of when I was in college, I met Jason, her father, and I really had never had a boyfriend before him. And so, I don't know why, but I really thought I was going to meet somebody that was exactly like me, that has also never had a girlfriend before, and we are our first loves, and just, it wasn't that way. That was something that I had to lay before God at the cross. I'm not the first, but I am the first, with Jesus, him a new life, but I feel like I would have lies creep in and being like, you're not enough, or all these other things. I can tell you my testimony another time, but those are something that I had to give. And if I ever was thinking again, the next day after I already gave it to the cross, the Lord would be like, no, you laid it for me. I've only been crucified once. Don't crucify me again. What are you doing? If the lies come to point it at the cross, the blood was shed. Jason's a new creation. I'm a new creation. God brought us together. So don't keep on taking that back, making it like what you're saying. I felt like sometimes I'm like, but can I forgive him for what he did before he met Jesus? The same thing that you deal with unforgiveness. Yes, I can. That's my sin. If I don't forgive, that's sin. That's ugliness before God. He hates that. It separates me from God. So, yeah, very true.
Another one of her questions is, how do I become who I am when everyone knows me for what I did or who I was? So, my first thought was being a wit and being a missionary kid. So that's something that is my identity. That's something most people know me for.
Sure.
And that could be so hard when you're known as someone that's a missionary kid, or when you're someone who's from the wits, because it's when I go to America and I start doing my own thing, I might feel really challenged, I'm not a wit anymore. I'm not a missionary kid anymore because I'm in college. And so that's something where it's I've heard of a lot of identity issues and crises that happen when people label you as those things, because you're that's not my identity anymore. So who am I now? Right. And so that's something that we have to continually be Lord, help me to see myself the way you see me and not the way that other people see me, because that is going to change. Yes. The things I like is going to change.
Yes.
When I was little, I used to always short hair. Now my hair's longer, so if I was known as the wit girl with short hair, my hair's not short anymore. If I was known as the girl that always wore short dresses, now I wear long dresses, all these different things, but it's we are constantly changing as children and as adults, that we cannot let what other people say affect us. And people don't realize that what they're saying actually might affect us with identity issues in the future. To continue to be Lord, help me see myself through your eyes, and see others through his eyes, because we don't want to do that same thing to other people. So we have to continually ask, Lord, let me see this person the way you see them rather than how the world sees them.
Yeah, and I think, praise God that we're not the same people, that we change. Your dad was saying, you go through different trends where you're I love olives, and now I'm do you love them as much as you used to?
Yeah, I don't like them that much anymore.
Growing up, my family never ate seafood, so I was no, I hate seafood. And then I met Jason, and again, I said he's a good chef, and so he's made shrimps and scallops and lobsters and crabs. He introduced me to all that. Now I'm I can't, what was I talking about? This is so fantastic. I'm a huge fan now, but it shows I've changed. Another thing that I had written was I used to actually like horror movies, believe it or not. I don't know why. I liked getting scared. I like getting ready to jump at something because it's going to come at you from the basement or in the dark or something, and I knew that was coming, and I enjoyed the thrill of that. Now, no way. So I could be watching a regular TV show and a regular movie that's not a horror movie, but something scary happens, maybe for a second, right? Usually I have to close my eyes or quickly, fast forward, into the next scene, because I am just not, like, my spirit, something in me is not wanting to even see that and not remember that later on and go to bed that way, thinking that in my head. Yeah, it changed so much.
Do you think that happened, like, after you had anxiety attacks?
I think so. Yeah, slow fade, maybe even a little bit before that. But then, like, after having anxiety attacks, it's like, I need to be able to be healthy in my mind, healthy in my heart. What are some things that I can do to prevent anxiety attacks? Yeah.
Sadie then started talking about the disciples. And so, most of them were fishermen. And then when Jesus left, what did they do? They went back to fishing.
When he died. Yeah.
So it was before Christ, they were fishermen. And after Christ, they were fishermen. She was saying how when you know something and it's in your comfort zone, it's really challenging to step out of that.
Yes.
And like, I've been thinking a lot recently as I've been accepted into college, like, okay, now I don't want to go anymore because I don't know that life. Like, I could, like, what I was telling Nevaeh the other night was, you know what? I really like to dream about college and then be able to wake up and still be here. So I could still like be with family and all that. And realizing that now that that is something that is in sight for the future, it's out of my comfort zone of going to a new place where I don't know anyone. And this is my comfort zone. It's something I've always known, even though it has its challenges every single day, every week, every month. Like, God, what are you doing? Why are we here? That the Lord has continued to be faithful to us. So that is something that's scary, to step outside of my comfort zone. And she talked about Peter.
Yeah.
And Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And he had 3 opportunities to say, yes, I know him. And so that was 3. The Lord is a God of always giving chances. 2nd chances, 3rd chances. So in a way, I see that as 3 chances of him being able to say, yes, I know Jesus. But then not only did Jesus stop there, he gave Peter another chance. And he asked him, do you love me? And feed my sheep. Do you love me? And Peter was like, very much like, what? Why are you asking me? And I never realized that was giving him a chance to redeem himself. Of being able to say, yes, I love Jesus. And yes, I will continue to serve him. And, redeem those 3 times he denied him. I was like, wow, he is a God of 2nd chances.
With that same story about Peter, the way that Sadie talked about it was calling it charcoal fire. So where he denied Jesus was around the fire, right? Jesus had just been arrested and he was about to go before Pilate and go to be questioned and all that. So he was like warming himself, his hands with other people, and that's when like, oh, I recognized you in the garden just a few minutes ago, So at the same time, the time when Jesus came back after this and had said, Peter, and he saw him and he, jumped all in with his clothes on to like get to Jesus. He had breakfast. Jesus had breakfast ready, and him and Peter were eating around the charcoal fire, and that's where they had this discussion of like, do you love me 3 times? And like just the 3 times he had denied himself. I thought it's interesting to even redeem the location, not even just like what you've done, but like the same thing, like this is in front of the fire, we're having a discussion. I thought that was beautiful.
And that was God's way of still reminding Peter that he still had a purpose. Because once you make a mistake, it's easy to be like, oh, I failed. I can't fix this. But realizing we still have a purpose and that the Lord was always there to redeem us and to help us.
Yeah, it's true. Great story. Great reminder.
So I was reminded in this that the church has a high expectation of perfection that is not achievable or even realistic. So with that, one of her quotes to go with that is, we put an impossible standard of perfection on our lives because that's the image we have created for ourselves or have seen someone else show off. So with that, it makes people not be vulnerable and open that making mistakes is normal. We're not gonna be perfect all the time. We're gonna fall. And I think it is important to be open about that and talk about, yes, we make mistakes, because the standard keeps people from opening up about things that they need help with.
Right.
And so if we would very much come alongside people and be like, yeah, that is something that is a struggle, and are very like want to help each other and guide each other, that's what Jesus wanted for us. He wanted us to help each other and serve each other, not be like, oh, you're sinning and you need to get yourself straight, like you can never sin or you'll never enter heaven. He doesn't say that.
No. Yeah,
So,
we need one another.
yeah.
Like we have weakness. We have time we're sick. We need somebody to maybe make us some chicken soup, you know, to help us when we're like, I don't have the energy to stand in front of the stove, or to someone if we're feeling lonely, or we're having Satan's lies in our mind, like I'm not enough, or like to have somebody else like, hey, like I saw you use your gifting, like way to go, cheer you on. We need people so much in our lives.
He loves you for he created you to be you. So he doesn't want you to be anybody else. He doesn't want you to feel like, oh, I need to be this other person because they're serving God so well. He doesn't want you to be them. He wants you to do what you're gifted at for his kingdom and serve him in that way. One of her quotes says, the past is not only embarrassing, but also painful. The beautiful thing is, you don't have to just walk away and pretend it never happened. Jesus can handle hearing about it and is able to redeem it, so that when you look at the charcoal fire, you no longer see failure. Instead, you see victory in him. So I thought that was so powerful. We don't have to be embarrassed. We don't have to be like ashamed. So much redemption in the Lord, being able to use that for his kingdom and his glory, that you can share and help bring people in. The Lord uses those hard times to form us, and that is our testimony. So our testimony is all those embarrassing things, all those hard things that you want to hide, but that God was really in all of that, and
using it,
using
helping
it
you to learn something new, and even using it for others, you know, so that they could be like, you're like, I did that last month. I was facing that, and don't worry, there is an ending, you know, for that.
We often hear God the most in those hard times.
Right.
And as much as that's like, I've always been like, Lord, I just want to hear from you and like just grow. Like I don't want to have to like grow like in the hard times of having to learn and make mistakes. I just want to be able to grow and like mature without going through those hard things. But that's not how God works. He tests us. So then her last quote is, Jesus has something better for you, a way forward. Now you have to be willing to walk in it. So it's not only up to God to have for you to grow. You have to be willing to take that first step and continue to let the Lord lead you in the direction he wants you. It's not like an easy, like, oh, I just have to walk in one straight line. It's gonna have its ups and downs. It's gonna highs and lows and all of that. So but you have to be willing to put yourself out there for the Lord to use you and to help you grow.
That's true. Beautifully said. Yeah. We hope that you enjoyed. This was, I think, our 8th one.
Yeah.
More to come.
One more from this book.
Yeah. That's cool. So we'll get that done and see what else we'll get done after that.
Yeah.
Hope you have a great day. Yeah.
Bye.